When Elon Musk, the world-renowned billionaire, stepped into Joe's grill house seeking a brief respite from his grueling day, he didn't expect anything out of the ordinary. But just as he approached the counter, a faint whisper stopped him dead in his tracks. His sharp instincts and keen awareness tuned in to the hushed conversation of two boys sitting nearby, their words cloaked in urgency and despair. Something about their tones struck a chord deep within him. What did they say that made Elon Musk, a man of action and logic, take a step back and reconsider everything in that moment? Keep watching to uncover the unexpected twist that left Elon and the boys forever changed. Subscribe for more inspiring and heartfelt stories. On a crisp autumn afternoon, Elon Musk left his office and drove his Tesla Cybertruck toward Joe's grill house in search of a brief respite. As he stepped out of the car, he instinctively paused, his ears attuned to a peculiar whispering from two boys behind him. Elon, accustomed to monumental pressures like calculating fuel loads for Tesla spacecraft or charting humanity's future, felt an unusually heavy burden that day. His steps were sluggish, each one dragging on as though weighted down. His shoulders were stiff, carrying the strain of countless meetings and a flood of emails awaiting his attention. His hands involuntarily gripped the Cybertruck's steering wheel tighter as his thoughts churned with the critical decisions looming over him. Even someone who worked 80 to 100 hours a week like Elon needed a momentary escape. That day, an inexplicable urge led him to make an unusual choice: fast food. But not just any fast food. It had to be something special, Joe's Grill House. Settling into the driver's seat, Elon steered his Tesla toward a small, unassuming Joe's Grill House nestled between a convenience store and a shopping plaza. As he parked smoothly in the lot, his hands still clung to the wheel, as if the day's tension hadn't yet released its hold. When the Cybertruck came to a stop, a faint smile crept onto his face, his jaw gradually relaxing. What would the media say about this? He mused. Elon Musk takes a break for fast food. The headline practically wrote itself. Stepping out of the car, clad in a simple black hoodie and jeans, Elon looked more like any average Joe than the tech mogul shaping the future of humanity. His body began to unwind, and his eyes carried a rare glimmer of peace as he savored the simplicity of the moment. As he walked into the restaurant, the familiar chime of the doorbell rang out, and the savory aroma of grilled meat and melted cheese filled the air, bringing back distant memories of his younger days. Elon approached the counter leisurely, his eyes briefly scanning the menu, though he already knew what he wanted: 2 Crunchwrap Supremes, a small indulgence after a taxing day. Before he could place his order, Elon felt the weight of a gaze on him. Sophie, the cashier, looked up, her eyes widening in recognition. She froze for a moment, her breath hitching as she processed the sight before her. The face she'd only seen on news channels was now standing right there at her counter. Her hands trembled slightly as she regained composure, a nervous smile spreading across her lips. "Welcome to Joe's Grill House. What can I get for you today?" she said, her voice quivering just enough to betray her nerves. Elon responded with a gentle smile, his calm demeanor silently reassuring her. 2 Crunchwrap Supremes, he said in his characteristic steady tone, easing the tension in the air. Taking his receipt, Elon stepped aside to wait for his order. His fingers clutched his wallet absently, but his attention drifted toward 2 boys seated nearby. At first, their whispers blended into the ambient noise of the restaurant, but something in their hushed tones caught Elon's attention. His steps faltered, and the hand idly running across the counter's edge froze mid-motion. "We have to do it tonight," the older boy whispered, his voice taut with urgency. "If we don't, Mom won't get better." Elon's entire body tensed. His breath slowed, and his gaze shifted toward the boys. The older one leaned in close to his younger brother, their hunched postures radiating a weight far beyond their years. "But what if we get caught? You know what they do to thieves," the younger boy said, his voice trembling barely above a whisper. His small hands clenched tightly together, his knuckles whitening as he tried to suppress his fear. The word thieves struck Elon like a blow to the chest. His eyes narrowed, and a chill ran down his spine. He leaned slightly closer, making an effort not to draw attention to himself while still catching every word. Just the cash in the register. No one will know. The older boy pressed on, his tone resolute but tinged with palpable anxiety. We need the money, and I don't know how else to get it. Elon's chest tightened as he took in the sight of the two boys. They were just kids, too young to bear such a heavy burden. Their bright eyes, dulled by desperation, reflected the crushing weight of their predicament. He stood there, rooted to the spot, as an unmistakable pang of empathy washed over him. Money, time. The older boy's words sent Elon's mind into overdrive. This wasn't childish mischief. It was something much more dire. He could hear the desperation in the older boy's voice, a kind of despair that only emerges when there are no options left. And when they mentioned their mother, Elon knew something was seriously wrong. Standing frozen, Elon's gaze fixated on the two boys. Years of experience, witnessing both humanity's triumphs and tragedies, had taught him to recognize fear. But this wasn't ordinary anxiety over a prank or minor trouble. It was survival. These boys were grappling with a situation that could alter their lives forever. When the cashier handed him his order, Elon's hands trembled slightly as he took the bag. He nodded absent-mindedly, his attention locked on the boys. The younger one's voice wavered, barely audible. I don't want to do this. What if someone gets hurt? The older boy squared his shoulders, inhaling deeply in a futile attempt to appear confident. We'll be quick, in and out. No one will get hurt, I promise. Just grab the cash, and we'll have enough to buy the medicine. Medicine. The word struck Elon like a bolt of lightning, tightening his chest. This wasn't just about a routine illness. Their mother needed urgent help. A rare feeling surfaced, constricting his breathing. Empathy. Elon remained still, his mind racing to devise a solution. He couldn't simply walk away and pretend he hadn't heard, yet confronting them too directly could backfire. They might panic or, worse, act recklessly. Turning back to the counter, he made a split-second decision. Can you help me with something? He asked the cashier gently. She looked at him, her eyes widening with confusion but willing to assist. What do you need? Add 2 more crunch wraps to my order, he said calmly. As she entered the order, Elon stole another glance at the boys, taking a deep breath. He needed to approach carefully, like solving a delicate puzzle. Grabbing the food bag, he walked toward their table, projecting an air of ease. At first, the boys didn't notice him, too engrossed in their tense conversation. Their bodies were hunched over, shoulders tight, as if the weight of the world pressed down on them. But as Elon drew closer, the older boy glanced up, his eyes widening in recognition. Elon offered a soft smile, keeping his tone light. Hey guys, he said, holding up the bag. Mind if I sit here? I ordered more food than I can eat. Thought you could help me out with a couple of these. The boys exchanged wary glances, their bodies rigid, ready to bolt at any moment. Yet the tantalizing aroma of food and the sheer improbability of Elon Musk standing before them made them hesitate. Sure, the older boy finally replied, his voice uncertain. Elon sat down across from them and set the bag on the table. He pulled out 2 crunch wraps, placing one in front of each boy. Their eyes darted between the food and Elon, expressions a mix of confusion and hunger. It's hard to think straight on an empty stomach. Elon let them unwrap their food and take cautious bites before saying anything further. Keeping his tone casual, Elon began. I couldn't help overhearing a bit of your conversation. Sounds like you're dealing with something pretty tough. The boys froze mid-bite, their faces paling. The older one clenched his fists, his voice tight with tension. We didn't do anything wrong. We were just talking. That's all. Elon nodded, his voice steady and calm. I understand. You're not in trouble. I just want to help. I heard you mention your mom. Is she sick? The younger boy's eyes welled with tears, which he quickly wiped away. The older boy, clearly trying to shield his brother, swallowed hard and nodded reluctantly. Yeah, she's really sick, he admitted, his voice strained. She needs medicine, but we don't have the money. We've tried everything. Elon felt a pang in his chest. These were just kids, yet they carried burdens far too heavy for their age. Their fear, their desperation, it was palpable, and their determination to save their mother cut him deeply. The older boy lowered his head, his shoulders quivering slightly. "We don't want to steal," he murmured, his voice cracking. "But we don't know what else to do. We have no choice." Elon leaned forward, his gaze filled with understanding. His voice was firm yet compassionate. "I know you're scared. I know it feels like there's no way out. But believe me, stealing won't solve anything. It will only make things worse for you and your mom." The older boy looked up, his eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "But what else can we do?" he asked, his voice raw with emotion. "The medicine is expensive, and the bills just keep piling up. We can't lose her." Elon inhaled deeply, choosing his words carefully. "I can help," he said softly. "I've been fortunate in life, but I understand how tough it can be. I've been in moments of desperation myself. Let me help you. And your mom." The two boys stared at Elon in disbelief, their wide eyes betraying a mix of confusion and astonishment. They seemed unable to process what he had just said. The older boy swallowed hard, his shoulders tensing slightly as if bracing for confirmation. "Really?" he asked, his voice trembling with skepticism and a sliver of hope. Elon nodded firmly, his gaze steady and resolute. "Yes, you don't have to carry this burden alone. There are ways to get help without sacrificing your future. I'll cover the cost of your mother's medicine and ensure she gets everything she needs. You don't need to steal or bear this weight by yourselves." A heavy silence fell over the table. The boys continued to look at him, their eyes now tinged with hope, though a flicker of doubt lingered. The dim light from the ceiling of Joe's grill house reflected off their teary eyes, casting a faint glow that seemed to mirror the fragile hope beginning to take root within them. After a few seconds, the older boy's rigid shoulders began to relax, as though the heavy load he'd been carrying was finally starting to lift. "You really mean it?" the younger boy asked, his voice trembling with gratitude, yet still cautious, as if afraid the promise might slip away. Elon smiled warmly, his expression radiating reassurance. "Yes, I do. And I don't want anything in return. All I ask is that you keep doing what you're doing, taking care of each other and looking after your mom. That's what truly matters." The older boy's lips quivered, as if he was holding back a flood of emotions. Then, suddenly, he exhaled a deep, shuddering breath, and tears began streaming down his face. These weren't tears of weakness, but of release, of relief from a burden too heavy for someone his age to bear. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice rough and raw with emotion. Reaching across the table, Elon gently placed a hand on the older boy's shoulder, offering a comforting pat. "It's going to be okay," he said softly, his voice low and calming. "We'll figure this out together." As Elon watched the boys begin to relax, taking small bites of their food, he felt a quiet sense of affirmation wash over him. He knew deep in his heart that this was the right thing to do. In moments like these, he realized that wealth and success weren't what mattered most. It was about using what you had to make a real difference in someone else's life. Elon knew he was exactly where he needed to be. Not in a boardroom or on a conference call, but here, in a modest Joe's grill house, helping two boys who needed him more than anything else in that moment. If you were in Elon Musk's position, what would you do when faced with such an emotional situation? Have you ever helped someone in their time of greatest need and witnessed the positive impact of your actions? Share your story or thoughts in the comments below. Your voice could inspire others to make a difference. If you found this story meaningful, don't forget to like, share it with your friends and loved ones, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss more heartwarming stories like this. Thank you for taking the time to watch and support us. Let's spread kindness together and build a community filled with love and compassion. Wishing you a wonderful and meaningful day.